Field Marshal Erich von Manstein. Erich von Manstein, born in 1887, passed away in 1973, was one of Nazi Germany's top military commanders during World War II. Thanks to his impressive victories, especially the capture of Sevastopol, he was promoted to Field Marshal in July 1942. British military strategist Basil Henry Liddell Hart called Manstein the finest operational brain in the German army. While German officers and soldiers praised him as the undefeated general. Manstein's military genius first became clear when he masterminded Germany's 1940 Western Front offensive. His plan was bold and risky, but Hitler approved it. The strategy involved launching a diversionary attack into northern France and the Netherlands to draw Allied forces there. While the main German thrust would come through the supposedly impassable Ardennes forest, a mountainous, heavily wooded region the Allies thought was impossible for tanks to navigate. German armor would then punch deep into France and swing north toward the English Channel, cutting off and encircling the main British and French forces concentrated in Belgium and Flanders. The plan worked brilliantly, delivering a quick, decisive victory with minimal German losses. After this success, Manstein was promoted to Colonel General and awarded the Knight's Cross of the Iron Cross. Manstein became the Soviet Union's second most dangerous enemy after Hitler himself, inflicting devastating losses on Soviet forces. Soviet General Nikolai Vatutin warned, "Manstein is a cunning, resourceful, fierce and dangerous enemy. The next battle will be extremely brutal." Many Soviet generals, including Marshal Zhukov, praised Manstein's abilities in their post-war memoirs, though often without mentioning him by name. After his Western triumph, Manstein was entrusted with key operations on the Eastern Front. Operation Barbarossa, 1941. Within just 100 hours, Manstein's forces drove 315 kilometers into Soviet territory, reaching the Dnieper River. Despite being stretched thin and separated from other units in Army Group North, his troops repelled fierce Soviet counterattacks. Crimea and Sevastopol campaign. Manstein's forces besieged Sevastopol, inflicting catastrophic losses, hundreds of thousands of Soviet casualties and thousands of destroyed weapons, artillery pieces, and tanks. When Sevastopol fell, a strategically vital region passed into German hands. This victory earned Manstein his promotion from general to field marshal. Siege of Leningrad. Manstein blockaded this northern Soviet city for an extended period, defeating multiple Soviet relief attempts and causing heavy losses. The city wasn't liberated until January 1944, by which time Manstein was no longer in command there. Stalingrad relief attempt, December 1942. When the German Sixth Army, under Field Marshal von Paulus, became trapped in Stalingrad, Manstein led a relief force that broke through dense Soviet defenses and came within 30 kilometers of the city, close enough that the trapped troops could see rescue flares. Manstein urged Hitler and Paulus to let the Sixth Army break out to meet the relief force. But Hitler flatly refused, ordering them to hold the city. This disastrous decision doomed the relief effort. When the Soviets regrouped and attacked Manstein's flanks, he was forced to retreat. Many military analysts believe that if the Sixth Army had broken out as Manstein suggested, it could have been saved. Germany's defeat at Stalingrad marked a crucial turning point in World War II. Battle of Kharkov, February to March 1943. Manstein executed a classic, backhand blow, that not only saved the German front from collapse but also destroyed 52 Soviet divisions and recaptured vast territory. Soviet losses were severe. About 46,000 killed and 14,000 captured, plus 600 tanks and 1,200 artillery pieces lost. For this achievement, Hitler awarded Manstein the Oak Leaves to his Knight's Cross. Battle of Kursk, July–August 1943. Manstein commanded the southern pincer in this famous battle. His forces were among the few German units to achieve significant results. Marshal Zhukov mentioned this wing respectfully in his memoirs. Manstein believed Germany could have won, arguing that he still had unused reserves while Soviet reserves were exhausted. However, Hitler ordered the offensive stopped on July 13. Despite the heavy Soviet casualties, most military historians reject the idea that Germany could have prevailed if the battle had continued. Battle of the Dnieper River, 1943. Manstein built defensive lines along the Dnieper, but Hitler forbade retreat and insisted on holding Kharkov. In July and August alone, the Red Army suffered over 1.6 million casualties, 10,000 tanks and self-propelled guns, and 4,200 aircraft. German losses under Manstein's command were lighter but still devastating to Germany's war effort, as the nation lacked the manpower and resources to replace them. During a meeting with Hitler on November 4, 1944, Manstein warned that the Dnieper line couldn't hold and urged retreat to preserve forces. He also proposed changing the high command structure to give field commanders more operational freedom. Hitler rejected both suggestions, convinced he could manage Germany's overall war strategy alone. By early March 1944, Soviet forces had pushed German troops far from the Dnieper. On March 19, Hitler issued orders requiring all troops to hold every position to the last man. When the Red Army encircled the German 1st Panzer Army on March 21, Manstein flew to Hitler's headquarters and finally convinced him to authorize a retreat. But on March 30, 1944, partly due to Manstein's declining health after years of continuous combat and partly due to his disagreements with Hitler, he was relieved of command and replaced by Field Marshal Walter Model. After leaving the military, Manstein lived privately in Liegnitz until British forces arrested him at war's end. Under heavy Soviet pressure, a 1948 War Crimes Tribunal sentenced him to 18 years in prison. Despite portrayals of him as a professional soldier simply doing his duty and fighting heroically against overwhelming odds. He was released on May 7, 1953, and afterward served as an advisor to West Germany's defense ministry from 1955–1956. His war memoir, Berlin Siege, Lost Victories, was published in 1955, arguing that Germany could have won the war in the Soviet Union if generals, not Hitler, had controlled strategy. Field Marshal Erich von Manstein died of a stroke in Irschenhausen, Bavaria, on the night of June 9, 1973, at age 85. He received a full military funeral attended by hundreds of servicemen of all ranks. The British newspaper The Times published his obituary on June 13, 1973. His influence and impact came from the power of his intellect and the depth of his knowledge, rather than from an ability to electrify troops or impress through force of personality. Germany's Der Spiegel magazine praised him as one of the last great strategists, but criticized his blind loyalty for contributing to Germany's path to catastrophe. His famous quote on personnel selection remains memorable: "There are only 4 types of officers. The first are lazy and stupid, leave them alone. They're harmless. The second are hard-working and smart. These make excellent staff officers who ensure everything is properly documented and calculated. The third are hard-working but stupid. These are a major threat and should be shot immediately. Finally, there are those who are smart but lazy. These will become the highest-ranking commanders."